We all know the drill. Every week, fans rush to their computers or their TV screens to watch Dragon Ball Super, either in Japanese or the English dub. And every single week, millions of fans heavily anticipate what will happen next in the show brought to us by Toei Animation and Funimation. Some of these fans read up on all the spoilers and watch all the YouTube videos speculating about what's to come for them that week, and others just wait and see what happens, distancing themselves from most prior information. But one question I've often pondered during my time watching Dragon Ball Super and observing the audiences who follow it is this entirely necessary? Do you as a fan have to watch Dragon Ball Super as it airs each week, or is there another equally valid and potentially better way to watch this show? For those who choose to watch weekly, I can see the reasoning. First, there's the social aspect, or in other words, the fact that those around you are watching weekly. Friends, family, acquaintances, and co-workers may be watching Dragon Ball Super each week, so you want to be able to participate in the conversation. What were your favorite moments? What line of dialogue did you think was good, and how you felt watching it live? And there's also the possibility that if you don't watch the episode, it may be spoiled for you by these people when it comes time to share. And in our current society, spoilers are a constantly looming threat, be it for Super or any other shows, and are often thrown out in regular conversations at any moment, especially if the show is popular, like Super, The Walking Dead, or Game of Thrones. So avoiding spoilers can almost be impossible depending upon your social circles. There's also people who simply can't or don't want to wait. These people either don't have the time, patience, or preference to wait weeks and allow episodes to build up. They want to watch the show when it airs, and then the next, and so forth every week. And I can understand this as well. We live in a time of instant gratification, especially in media like shows and movies. People want everything as soon as possible, which is why many still watch Super Raw, with no subtitles while it airs live in Japan. However, when you really think about it, is this instant gratification really worth the lacking experience? Is it truly instant gratification to wait for another episode every single week? After all, you spend 20 minutes watching one, and then you have to wait 7 days for the next one. We live in a time of video streaming and binge watching, and the latter of these two is slowly but surely changing how we consume media and entertainment. Services like Netflix have really been pioneers of this form of viewing, as they release entire seasons of series all at once and allow the viewer to watch at their own pace. There's no waiting for commercials and no waiting a week between episodes. You can literally watch as many or as few episodes of the show as you want, so long as the content is available. This sort of platform is all about choice, and it's also why many people today are abandoning their cable and networks for these services. And I can totally understand this point of view. When you have so many choices and so much variety available to you, and a show will just be up on these services or out on home release when the time comes, it makes sense that many don't mind waiting, and either build up episodes of a show on their DVR or streaming services, where if you want, you can just sit down, get some snacks, your favorite drink, and watch an entire season or arc of a series, with the only breaks being those you choose to take. With Dragon Ball Super, it's okay if you don't watch the newest episodes as they air in Japan, because now we have Crunchyroll, where every single episode of the series is put up shortly after it airs and compiled for you. If you prefer to binge watch, the option is available to you, but to many people, it's also about more than simple convenience. When you watch a series back to back rather than weekly, you're bound to pick up more on what's happening in the show because your memory will be fresher. Will you be more likely to remember what happened 4 episodes ago a month after you watched the episode, or just over an hour before? When it's a show where the plot is the focus, events tie into one another and little things are adding up in the background, is it wiser to watch that series over the course of months or years, with the occasional breaks and hiatuses thrown in, or just to sit down and binge the show, allowing everything to not only stay fresh in your memory, but also for those memories and that information you've retained to build upon itself until you reach the finale of that season or show. From a strict viewing perspective, allowing episodes to build up and then watching them holds several advantages. However, many could contend that while watching Super each week, if you start to forget parts of the show, you could go back to Crunchyroll or your DVR and rewatch them to refresh your memory. And the same can be said for if you go back and rewatch the series. However, if you watch a series with the episodes together as opposed to spaced apart, you'll be more likely to remember events because they'll be more closely linked in your memory. But for either side, you can still have the option to rewatch episodes in or out of order, so long as you wait for them to build up. But of course, as I mentioned before, a drawback of those who wait for new seasons to be added to their favorite shows, or for Dragon Ball Super to add more episodes, is spoilers. You have the possibility of not only one, but every episode being spoiled for you, as someone could at any time post a video, a tweet, or just outright tell you the ending of a season, and the crucial twist that you'd never see coming otherwise. So if you prefer blind viewing, you'll have to give up a lot more than those who don't when it comes to social media and conversations, which is pretty much unavoidable in our current society. So it really comes down to what you value more about your viewing experience. Do you want to watch Super every week so that you can chat with your friends about it who may also watch the show and because you don't want to wait to see what will happen next? Or do you want to wait for the episodes to build up so you can watch them back to back, take in all the minutiae of the show, pick up on things others may forget, and watch at a pace that you control? And many people will answer this differently. For me personally, I prefer binge watching. I've never been a fan of watching a single episode of Dragon Ball weekly, or most shows for that matter. When Dragon Ball Z was airing on Toonami, I didn't really have to do this either, as they would oftentimes show multiple new episodes per week. And when Dragon Ball and Z were airing in the United States, the show was already over in Japan. So if I wanted to watch in any other languages than my native tongue, I could do that. Furthermore, if an episode or two of Super aren't very good, or a mini arc such as Potafu, I could quickly watch them and move on to something that is actually good, or skip around as much as I want. I know we all know how it feels to be stuck watching something that isn't good for weeks or months, and really drags our enjoyment down. To me, story arcs and seasons are very akin to drawn out, more expanded movies. And just as I don't like to stop a movie every few minutes or every time a crucial scene happens, I don't prefer to watch only one episode of Super each week, be it in English or Japanese. I want to see the full picture and watch it as it plays out, rather than waiting around week after week for it to do so. And oftentimes this allows me to enjoy the series far more than if I had to watch only once a week, because I could watch it unfold as the storytellers intended, rather than constantly wondering what will come about with each passing week. And as most of my friends are only watching the show in English, as most Americans still don't like the idea of watching films or shows in their original language with subtitles regardless of how much great content there is around the world, so I really don't miss out on much in my usual social circles. However, as someone who covers and analyzes Dragon Ball Super, I don't have many of the same luxuries as those watching this video. And while I no longer review this series weekly, I still have to watch and rewatch the episodes for research and editing purposes. And if I don't watch the show weekly, I can't bring you videos about current events, which are so heavily promoted and demanded on YouTube. So I must give up my ability to blindly view the show with no spoilers, although I still try my best to avoid some, and I watch it weekly, although seeing the flaws in doing so. But ultimately, this all comes down to you, the viewers. You are the ones who have control over how you watch this series. Will you continue to watch weekly until the show is finished, or will you continue to build up and marathon episodes? Your preference is what defines your experience. But for those who are interested in seeing what the other side is like, and are open to viewing things how someone else does, I challenge challenge those who watch weekly to slow it down a little bit, maybe ease up on those spoilers and see how the show plays out. Maybe experiment with letting a few episodes build up and seeing what it's like to watch that way. Perhaps you'll find you enjoy it even more when you have a greater control over your own viewing experience. And for those who take a break from the show entirely, as I've seen some say they have, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, because you don't really have to watch Dragon Ball Super weekly, or any show for that matter. It's all up to you. And whenever you're ready to come back and watch again, all the shows will be there waiting for you. And maybe you'll just find you appreciate it more than when you left, and that you're having fun again. And that's what Dragon Ball is really all about in the end. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.